seconds later of energy.
I had a near-death experience, and this tattoo was indicative of that.
I tell people that I got tattooed because I wanted to look like all the folks in National Geographic.
Well, like I got this tiger when I divorced my husband.
I'm always joking with women when I meet them. I say, oh, you didn't have to do one of those biker chick things where you know, like had to do the guy, you know, and be his slave. And they look at me with these stricken looks, and I realize that's exactly what they did to learn.
I think when women physically make contact with people, they have a bonding.
Finally, yeah, we're in our element.
Women tattooers are not bimbos.
You put a girl's name on a fella, he's going to get the best tail he's ever going to see.
It's the National Tattoo Convention in Los Angeles, and the room is humming with the buzz of tattoo machines and the conversations of a reunited family of tattoo artists and friends. Hello, I'm Peggy Knapp, and welcome to this special hour on the art of tattooing. This annual meeting is the largest of the tattoo conventions in America. It's sponsored by the National Tattoo Association, and it brings together some of the best artists in the world. Though most of the artists working at this convention are men, there are several booths at which women are working. We found a smaller convention in Orlando, Florida, and the criteria for participation were a little different. It could be any convention. A hotel ballroom where professionals work their booths. Photos and design sheets called Flash are on display. And that hypnotic buzz of tattoo machines electrifies the room. But this convention is unconventional. Here, the general is a red-haired woman. People have come to worship the moon. And these illustrators and artists are turning tattoo work into women's work.
I think women are a lot more nurturing, and so when we come together, it's like a bunch of sisters.
It's an energy thing.
It's safe and warm and
nonviolent.
nonviolent, yeah.
The women are running the show, and it definitely feels mellower.
I like this convention better because I think that women's egos are not as big.
And it smells better. No.
Hey, how you doing? Pretty good.
When Dina Lippens first started tattooing, she didn't know any other women artists.
Probably the first one that I met was this lady right over here, Deborah Inksmith.
After years of meeting women at other conventions, Dina decided to give them one of their own.
I thought about it a few years before I did it because I didn't feel like women got enough recognition, and there was a lot of females that people didn't even realize there were so many females tattooing and doing such great work.
The third annual Marked for Life convention in Orlando.
Afro Tats is Jackie. She has a shop in New Orleans.
More than 40 female artists are here for the weekend.
Hi, Jackie. How you doing? I like your booth. It turned out really nice. 18 years ago, women weren't tattooing and weren't real accepted, and very few and far between, and a lot of the old school tattoo artists didn't want to teach a woman. You know, a couple broke the ice and got us in.
Being a woman tattooing is actually easier now than it used to be, I think.
A lot of people at our shop would say, I'm not letting her work on me. I don't want a girl to tattoo me. So the sexism was very, very strong at the beginning.
We didn't even know each other. We thought we were all alone out there in the world.
You know, it's time.
20 years ago, they really told women, you're lucky to have tattoos, much less do them. And the few women that did do them, you know, obviously didn't listen. They're the ones who made it easier for us today, definitely.
A gathering like this raises questions about the differences between the sexes.
Then I discovered I had a lot of people coming to me because the perception was that because I am a woman, I'm not going to tattoo so harshly, or it's not going to hurt as much.
They believe a woman cares more about how much pain they inflict on somebody.
Who would you rather have tattooing you? Some big rough guy who's going to rub you and pat you and have bad breath, or some beautiful flower-smelling woman that's going to luxuriously touch your skin and pat you gently and, you know, kind of mother you? And
I think women are well suited to tattoo because it's something that requires more than just verbal communication.
Women here talked a lot about the transforming power of tattooing.
When you tattoo the flesh, you tattoo the spirit.
We change lives, mostly for the better.
I think having that empathy with the person, with your client, is extremely important. And I think that's something that a lot of women do. I think we'll nurture a tattoo onto the skin.
One who is most in tune with that healing connection is artist Julie Moon.
I've discovered that frequently the event of getting the tattoo, or the process of getting the tattoo, and the circumstances surrounding that are frequently far more important than the image itself.
At this convention, Julie is celebrating 20 years in the business.
My work tends to be very soft and very, very delicate. It's very quiet. I call it quietly radiant.
Julie Moon, to me, I don't know her personally, but she seems like the kind of person that I would strive to be.
Julie Moon rules.
I tell people that I got tattooed because I wanted to look like all the folks in National Geographic.
Women and tattooing share a history as old as the art form. Surprisingly, all of the Egyptian mummies discovered with tattoos were the bodies of women. The body of a frozen tattooed woman has been found in Siberia. And it's likely that Mary Magdalene was marked with more than scorn, since it was a tradition of the Magdalene women to tattoo their bodies. In late 19th century Britain, society women caught on to a fad that their husbands and fathers had long done.
Their husbands and the kings and the queens of England and these countries had been getting tattooed for a long time.
Catherine the Great, you know, like she had about 22 tattoos, I know, and they were all pornographic.
Winston Churchill's mother was tattooed with a serpent eating its own tail as a symbol of eternity.
Had a diamond cuff made so if she went to the Queen's, she could cover it up.
And she had them all down her shins. I mean, I think she must have gone a bit loopy, and she had some terrible stuff on her legs, you know.
So that was a kind of a high society fad, and then it basically filtered down to be more of a you know, mass popularity thing.
In the 1920s, another fad caught on when a tattooed mummy was unearthed.
And people wanted scarabs and tattoos in general because they had seen these abstract dot-dash markings on this mummy.
But for much of the past century, the circus was the home of the illustrated woman.
The first tattooed women began exhibiting themselves in the 1880s. The mother of all tattooed women was Nora Hildebrandt.
Nora Hildebrandt, tattooed by her father Martin, had an elaborate tale to draw a crowd.
Which was that she was tattooed by redskin Indians in the Wild West under threat of death from Sitting Bull.
A lot of those circus women would pretend that they were forcibly tattooed, so it was a rape metaphor. They'd say that they were held captive by savage Indians and their whole body was tattooed. Funny, it's portraits of George Washington and Abe Lincoln on their shoulders, but they're saying that the Indians did it to them.
At a time when it was scandalous for a woman's skirt to go above her ankles, the tattoo act was part freak show, part peep show.
You can imagine that, you know, women wearing sleeveless tops and short trunks were really unusual at the time and scandalous.
That is Trixie Richardson. I don't know much information about her, but you can see this classic photos like from the 20s.
Chuck Eldridge is the keeper of the Tattoo Archive in Berkeley, California.
Ironically, the women would actually be paid more than the men, so it was early women's liberation, I guess. They would always be a bigger draw, so they would get a little bit more pay, too.
They were often the wives of tattoo artists, each with their own hook to grab an audience.
Artoria was tattooed by her husband, Charles Red Gibbons. Red Gibbons was an excellent tattooer, probably one of the best of his era. He did a full body suit on her of famous paintings, a lot of religious paintings, a lot of Italian paintings.
Betty Broadbent was one of the most famous tattooed women of the 20th century.
Betty was a real trooper. She was really quite a woman, went through 5 husbands. and spent almost 40 years working in the circus world as a tattoo attraction, which is very unusual.
But even though there were tattooed women, women tattooers were harder to find. A few, like Mildred Hull of New York, broke that mold, picked up the tattoo machine, and made their permanent mark on the art.
There was Rusty Skews, who started tattooing about 1960. There was a girl called Winnie Ayres. She tattooed in the 50s.
Glasgow artist Terry Wrigley recalls several women tattooing in Britain over the years.
There was always a woman tattooing in Britain before I started tattooing called Jessie Knight, whose father tattooed.
On the shoulders of these tattooed ladies, a wave of other artists would stand up to be pioneers of a different era. As the convention in Orlando draws to a close, it's clear that women are moving from the sideshow to the main stage.
Here we are the stars of the show, and so it's fun to be special once a year.
But one convention is only scratching the surface of the rich array of female artists. We'll introduce you to more women of the ink as our show continues.